Inside Hilltopper Athletics is brought to you by Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration. Here's your host, Lynn.
Welcome to Inside Hilltopper Athletics, back for another edition of the basketball podcast, as always, joined by head coach Kyle Cooper. Coach, interesting week, and let's start with the most recent outing.
Yep.
So give us the thoughts hosting a Concord team.
Yeah, they've been trending up, and they were playing a lot better, and she's been manipulating some different things with how I think she's approaching it, kind of lineup-wise. At one point, they were playing two different lineups. Now they're shorting the bench a little bit, and they've been playing better. So we knew we had to come and bounce back off of the prior game and be ready to go. And I thought the first quarter didn't go the way we ideally wanted from a defensive standpoint, and in turn, you find yourself down. But I thought we did adjust from there, especially in the second half. And when we turned up our defense in the second half, again, got to play, it's been a theme on our podcast, got to play in transition a lot more. And the ball movement was incredible. Talking with Coach Seth about it, there were some stretches in the second half where the ball was barely touching the floor. It was just pass, extra pass. And in turn, we were getting a lot of really, really good looks.
Did you expect her deviating from the lineup? And I'll be honest, I didn't do my homework. I just thought they were still playing the two platoon system. Mm-hmm. And what was the most unusual about that platoon system? One unit played man, the other unit played zone. Right. So had already broken from that? Or
yeah, to an extent. They still kind of had a pressing lineup that we had saw on film in some of the prior games, but they were definitely starting to play a couple more of what we would label their game breaker players across both lineups, and that was the change we saw. So we did anticipate it would be a little bit different. We did anticipate seeing a lot of zone, and they did do a lot of matchup zone throughout. But again, I think it was a good win for us because not only did we shoot it well from three, not only did we have high assist marks again, but we found a way to start stacking possessions defensively again. That was something we struggled in earlier in the week.
Well, the second quarter, I would think, played a huge role because your all-region candidate, Ari Manze, picks up 2 fouls in the first 3 or 4 minutes of the game. You elected to set her the rest of the half.
Yep.
And you're matched up with one of the more dominant post players in the MEC.
Yeah, and I thought we responded really well to that. There was one or two moments that really, I thought we could have held them even lower in scoring than we already did in that second quarter. But I thought that Jenna Ricardo gave us a really good lift in that game. And it's from a standpoint of not necessarily checking some of the things you might see in a box score, but just owning the role of what we expect out of that position. And she gave us a good lift. And then when we went with the all guard, it also was productive as well. So, no, it was definitely crucial that we could keep Ari sitting there and felt comfortable while we kind of weathered the storm, if you will.
Right. Well, you eventually ended up putting them away, but the system was working, and I mentioned this on the air. You look at the stats, and let's say midway through the third quarter, late in the third quarter, you're up 12 or whatever it was. We had pretty much the same amount of baskets, the same amount of free throws.
Right.
You had made three-point field goals.
Correct.
They didn't. You're getting that extra point on every made field goal.
Yep.
So
the power of the three, and then in turn, adjusted field goal percentage goes up, which is something we look a lot at as a program.
Right. Well, let's talk real quickly here, even before we get how that game ended on such an incredible roll. But I also mentioned this on the air. Probably your greatest strength statistically is your field goal percentage, especially with the volume of threes that you shoot.
Yeah. I think that, we're one of the top 10 teams in the country efficiency-wise and shooting the basketball, and that's been a testament to our players understanding shot selection. And if we're able to stack quality shots with taking care of the basketball, that's where we're seeing the off-the-charts scoring, if you will. But you've got to be able to do both, and that's one of the things we've worked hard at having a consistency for, and we've gotten much better at it.
Right, and I'm glad you brought up the turnover column, because that is the one thing that really jumped out in the Concord game that I don't know how many you finished with, but probably the best game all season.
Yeah.
Taking care of the basketball.
Yeah, and I think a little bit's that their style of play, that matchup zone. It's not like they're getting up and denying you on the wings or anything like that. But it's teams have to pick their poison to an extent too, especially if we're able to get contributions from a lot of different players like we were in that game, and you're able to play the game kind of inside out and then outside in based on what they're doing to you.
Well, you're getting just a really, really good team effort across the board. You're not dependent upon any one kid getting 30 on a night. You did catch fire in the fourth quarter, and it was pretty fun to watch. It's boom, 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 extra pass 3, boom, 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 extra pass 3. So a good way to recover after a pretty tough Wednesday night. Of course, you're traveling down to Glenville, West Virginia, playing the defending national champions who came into the game probably 4th or 5th in the country. So we're not going to beat this game to death, but just give me your thoughts on that game.
I felt like, and again, they're a very good basketball program. They're very well coached. I felt like we didn't necessarily, and it's kind of painting it with a broad stroke, but we didn't have it that game. We just didn't have the energy and the bounce that we were playing with coming off of 2 huge wins in a 4-game win streak going into that game. And that's just being honest. And in turn, we let their 2 all-conference guards really get going. And I think they both, went for 30 each or what it ended up being. But just thought we weren't dialing enough collectively. I thought there were moments where we did some good things and individually we did some good things. But our brand of basketball is definitely a team brand. And I just thought across the board, we didn't have that same bounce just in enough spurts. And when you're playing a really good basketball team, that affects you. And hats off to them. They did some things to us that defensively affected us. So, not going to go into all those details because we don't want to give too much of the secrets away. But, I thought that they were very good defensively.
Yeah, and not to make excuses for you or the result, but I'm sitting there, and of course I've watched or coached in thousands of basketball games, and there's some nights where you just don't have it.
Yep.
It's just, I call it one of those nights. Mm-hmm. It was kind of one of those nights. But even despite that, it was still a competitive game for the longest time.
For sure. We go down 10 at half, and we play even with them basically the majority of the third quarter. So you're sitting there, I think we were down 11 with like 2 minutes to play in the third. And that's probably one of the things that's frustrating as a coach, no matter, we kind of knew we didn't have it looking back. It looked that way on film. You confirm it, but you still have your chances. And that's frustrating because I feel like our team has earned better than that. And again, it's all of us. I needed to be better that night for them. They needed to be better for each other. But the reality of it is we moved forward and we got that Concord win, and that was big for us.
Right. And I don't know, when their 2 stars are having a game like that, I think one had 30, the other 28.
Yeah.
If I remember that, there's nobody that's going to beat Glenville. If they're playing at that volume, meaning across the board, they lost some what I call once in a decade, 2-decade type talents off that national championship team. This team probably doesn't score at the level that some of their others.
Right.
But those kids were having a special night.
Right.
And it was the same way. They were struggling for the longest time in their game on Saturday, and I'm watching the live stats. And then it's Campbell 3, Campbell 3,
right.
Campbell 3, and they heated up and put that game away. But just chalk it up to one of those nights, and
for sure.
You got through what is a murderous stretch. So let's talk this week real quick. Travel to Frostburg Wednesday, host Fairmont on Saturday. Just quick thoughts.
I think it's a big week for us. You're going to go on the road against a team that has a head coach that knows us, knows how we play, and does a phenomenal job with getting a game plan together scout-wise. And on top of that, they're in that mix of they're fighting to get into this tournament still right now. So that said, they're going to be ready to go. I have no doubt about that. So we have to go and we have to play on the road well. And then obviously it's a huge game on Saturday for both teams, both Fairmont and us. Both have aspirations of the NCAA tournament. Both are still in the mix trying to figure out what seeding is going to look like down the stretch. So the reality of it is another huge week. So as much as we might not label it Murderers Row, this is a big, big week for us. And I really, really hope we can handle business on the road. And I really hope we have a phenomenal crowd, which we should on Saturday.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be good. And let's give a shout out. Frostburg coach Jenna Eckleberry.
Yes.
I've known her since she was in 5th grade coming to my camps. So long history with Jenna. She does come from the Steve McDonald School of Scouting.
No doubt.
Long time coach at Fairmont. And they were prepared when you played them. And,
for sure.
Jenna took that from him, being part of that system. So interesting game. And then, as you mentioned, we do play Fairmont. Should be a huge crowd here. Should be a fun night. Last and not least, let's talk conference standings real quickly. You're in a place where you can do yourself some good.
No doubt, no doubt. And I think it's one of those things, you want to be relevant right now. Like, you want to be in the mix, and we've done that. And we've kind of weathered a couple times where we have stubbed our toes this season a little bit, if you will, to use that cliche. But we're still in the mix. And if we can take care of business and we can take care of us, there's a chance here that we can really put together down the stretch and have big picture and short-term picture success, which is what we need.
Yep, absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us. Good luck. I'll be down there tomorrow night, and let's go get to this week.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, that wraps up this segment of Inside Hilltopper Athletics. We'll be back with men's basketball.
Disasters happen. Pick the team that takes care of them all. Powered by offices in Wheeling, Morgantown, and Pittsburgh, Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration is ready to handle any size emergency at a moment's notice. We have the right people, knowledge, and equipment to respond 24 hours a day.
I'm Kyle Cooper. When disaster strikes your home or business, tell your insurance provider you prefer the restoration company the Hilltoppers call, Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration.
Inside Hilltopper Athletics is brought to you by Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration. Here's your host, Lynn.
Back to the second segment of Inside Hilltopper Athletics. I'm now joined by head men's basketball coach Ben Hallett, who took a couple weeks off from our podcast, so we must not be really important to you, but we ended up talking to two smarter people anyway. But thanks for joining us again.
Thanks for having me.
Good week, come off two good wins, but in different ways. So I want to maybe start with the game at Glenville on Wednesday.
Okay.
So we knew we were going down. Glenville, a talented team, a team that had beaten Fairmont twice, a team that on any given night can play with about any team in the region. So thoughts just going into the game?
Knew it was a dangerous game, and they're better at home. They've beat some really good teams, as you said, at home, and they're a tough matchup for us because they do have good, quick guards, and we got a good win against them here. But if you remember, we got them late. It was a close game throughout the game, and it went down to the last 5 minutes, and then we finally pulled away. So we knew going into the game that we were going to get their best shot, and we certainly did.
Well, we got their best shot. So let's quickly go through the first half. Probably a half you would want to forget. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. Nothing was going our way. Couldn't make shots. Got good shots, just they weren't falling. And, it seemed like it was one of those days where when Glenville shot it was going in. And I thought a couple times we were actually playing pretty good defense. And just things weren't going our way in the first half, and kind of went into halftime and regrouped, and felt fortunate we were only down 8 at half. And it could have been 6, but we gave up a layup there at the buzzer. And but I told my assistant coaches I felt good. We're only down 8 points right now. And then the second half, it was a gritty performance. I thought we played really, really hard, and some shots started to fall for us, and I thought we wore them out. If you look at the film and look at their players, the last 8 minutes of the game, they were very fatigued, and we went back to the platoon system where we were going 5 in and 5 out, and really wore those guys down. And I told the guys after the game it was my favorite win all year, and you're thinking, why? But it was a gritty win, and it was kind of an uncharacteristic win for us. So really proud of the effort there in the second half.
Well, here's what, watching this game live, and you have to be in the building to really experience and feel what's going on. And because it was a lower scoring type half, being down 8 felt like being down 15. Does that make sense?
Yeah. For sure.
I'm thinking, I don't know if we can win this game. And then even the second half, although I thought our effort was really good, we still was struggling to make up ground. I think at one of the timeouts, right around that 10-minute mark, we had just fallen back down 9.
Yeah.
We had a chance to cut it to 2. It went to 9. There's a timeout called. And I'm looking at my wife and going, this just doesn't feel good. I just don't know. But I will agree with you, especially from a coach's eyes. I thought it was one of the more grittier wins. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And it's because we did things that, we typically don't do. We we kind of won in the half court. I thought our half court defense was really good there in the second half. And again, they made shots in the first half. They were hot, but I just thought we settled down. And obviously our full court pressure was a big part of that, and wore those guys down. And it was kind of funny in the handshake line. A couple of their players were telling our guys, we just ran out of gas, which as a coach, I love hearing that from the other team, but they just got wore down. So, again, super gritty win and proud of our effort.
Yeah, and I do think it was the half-court defense in that last 9 minutes that they just weren't getting good looks. And they did cool off, but for the most part, I thought your kids just dug in and said, we're going to win this on a defensive end. And we all know whether it's cause and effect or it just works out that way, but isn't it magical when you're really doing great things on a defensive end, how it translates to offense?
For sure. Yeah, and we talked about that. Like, sometimes our best offense is transition offense, and I think in order to have transition offense, you got to get stops at one end. And we finally started doing that in the second half, and we were able to get some clean looks from the perimeter in transition, but also get some easy looks inside. And thought Bryce Butler was really good there in the second half, and kind of let him do his thing. And I know he probably wasn't even happy with his performance, and I think that says a lot about him when you have 29 points or whatever he had. And but I thought he did really well for us in the second half, and we kind of just he carried us there at the end.
Right, and he's an elite scorer, so we know there are nights where he is going to get 29 or 30.
Yeah.
There's going to be nights like on Saturday where he doesn't get to 20, close. But what I like about your team, I think you guys have the ability to figure out what is needed on a given night. Yeah. So is it a night where you're going to go to one or two guys more? Is it a night where the press is going to make the difference? Is it a night where you got to dig in on the defensive end in a half-court set? And I think your kids are getting a really good idea of how that works. Yeah. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges in coaching. So you end up pulling away. Very, very impressive win. You come home to play another team that's kind of in that middle of the pack. And I think you and I talked about this last week, and I know Dawn and I talked about it on the air. What makes our league so tough is we've got middle of the pack teams that have proven on any given night they are going to play with the best teams in the league, and Concord kind of fits in that thing. So what were your thoughts hosting Concord after already playing them? What were you expecting?
Well, kind of the same thing. And if you go back to the game down there, the first meeting, we just shot the ball really well. That was the reason we won. And they scored 97 points, and they shot around 60% from the floor and lost. So if you would have told Coach May that you were going to score 97 points and shoot 60% from the floor, he'd say, sign me up. So we just shot it really well in the second half. So we wanted to get back and beat these guys, and this is what I told them. Let's beat them the West Liberty way. And I thought that game itself, it had a weird twist to it at the beginning. Like, it was just back and forth. That game was back and forth in the first half, and both teams were shooting at a high percentage. I think both teams were right around 60% in the first half. And then the second half, I thought we flexed our muscles a little bit. And I thought all aspects of our system, from defensive pressure to the half-court defense to transition offense to half-court offense, I thought we were really good. And the stat that really sticks out to me is the 31 assists. We had 31 assists and I think 7 or 8 turnovers in that game. If we can put up that kind of numbers, we're going to be a really hard team to beat.
Right. And for me, probably the biggest stat in the game, and Coach Lamberti and I talked about this yesterday, is they have so much size and athleticism that if they get an opportunity, whether it's a numbered break, an offensive rebound, whatever it is, it's hard to contest them because our team just doesn't have a ton of size. And they were shooting like 60%.
Yes.
So at the halftime, I think you were up, 7 maybe, 58, 51.
Yes.
And I think, again, we were able to raise our defensive level considerably.
Yeah.
So I know on one of those first timeouts, Don Clegg's pointing at our monitor, I think Concord started the second half 2 for 11 from the floor, and only one of those was a 3-point attempt.
Yeah.
So they had 10 kind of point-blank opportunities, and we just have a little bit more of a spring in our step, better angle contesting a shot, and then whether you call it coincidence or whatever, you start getting stops, and boy, does it translate on the offensive end.
Yeah, and I think their game plan is they're going to try and beat our pressure, and they're going to try and score layups. And it used to be they're going to kick it out for three, but now they're trying to get all the way to the rim. And I thought our guys did a good job. And it's kind of funny. We talked at one of the halftime breaks as a coaching staff and said, if we could just run a little bit faster. Like, it was close in the first half. Like you could say, we're almost getting there, but if guys could just run a little bit faster. And I thought guys did that. Instead of running at 90%, they're running at 97, 98% there in the second half.
Right, and once you caught fire, it was almost unbelievable. We'll like to acknowledge, set an NCAA record in the game, 12 guys making a three-point field goal.
Yeah, got on Finley. He didn't make one, so that's what we talked about. But yeah, we've got everybody can shoot, and the cool part about that, those 12 guys making shots, they were all off the pass, and there wasn't anybody doing stuff on their own off the dribble. It was all off the pass, and again, a lot of those were in transition, which we've really been harping. Let's get some easy threes in transition, and we did that.
Right. So records are records. You can say how important they are. It's nice to have our name in a record book. But I think the thing that I liked about this record, the quintessential team record.
Yeah.
Meaning when you have 12 out of 13 guys hit a three.
Pretty cool.
It just shows a lot of versatility, a lot of talent in the program. So you end up having one of those dream second halves that you're going to do once or twice a season with our style of play. But now it doesn't get too much easier because we're going to what I'm perceiving is a vastly improved Frostburg team.
Improved team and a trap game too, and that's what we talked about yesterday before practices. This is the definition of a trap game, and this is where the slide started the first time against Frostburg. At the end of the game when they started driving us to the rim and they were scoring every single possession, and this is kind of where we're not playing well that part of the season. But I think this team is hungry for wins. They beat West Virginia State at home a couple weeks ago, and everyone knows how talented they are. So we know we're going to get their best shot, and we got to come ready to play.
And then not to jump ahead, but we do want to mention it, Fairmont on Saturday.
Yeah, it'll be a good game. I don't want to talk about it right now because I want to really focus tomorrow. But if somehow, some way we can win tomorrow, and somehow, some way Fairmont can win tomorrow, I think Saturday will be a huge game here.
Yeah, huge game. So we're reminding our viewers, please tune in, watch the broadcast down at Frostburg on Wednesday, and if you get a chance, come up and join us on Saturday. We're expecting, if not the biggest crowd, one of the biggest crowds of the season, and it should be a great environment. But that wraps up Inside Hilltopper Athletics. Coach, thanks, and let's get two more.
Yep, thank you for having me.
Disasters happen. Pick the team that takes care of them all. Powered by offices in Wheeling, Morgantown, and Pittsburgh, Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration is ready to handle any size emergency at a moment's notice. We have the right people, knowledge, and equipment to respond 24 hours a day.
I'm Ben Hallett. When disaster strikes your home or business, tell your insurance provider you prefer the restoration company the Hilltoppers call, Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration.
Hi, I'm Liliana Hart, and I'm a studio art major here at West Liberty, and I'm going to show you what it's like to be in this program. So my first class today is intermediate painting with Mr. Fensel. Studio art as a major is just about creating that exponential growth as an artist. It gives you a community of artists around you, and it's unique in its ability to curate your classes on how you want to advance as an artist. There's crossover between 3D, 2D, even if you are on the main 3D or 2D track. So in intermediate painting, we were exploring abstract work, which is a challenge for me because my art is never really abstract, but that's just another way that these classes challenge you. I really learn more about my art and myself. I'm headed to my second class of the day, which is silkscreen production with Professor Matusiak. This major is perfect for those who want to become full-time artists or practicing artists, and as well as those who want to advance into a Master's of Arts program. I chose this major because my goal is to teach art in a higher academia setting. at an arts college or university, and this program allows me to build upon my skill and gives me opportunities to advance my ability to apply to master's programs that I'm considering and grow overall as an artist. So now I'm heading into a meeting with my advisor, Pencil.
So what I just kind of want to talk to you about today is, so you got a deadline coming up, February 19th, to apply to the Academy.
One of the things that we've been working on lately, my advisor and I, is the New York Academy of Art Summer Intensive Program, which I would not have been aware of if not for Professor Fensel. One of the main reasons I want to apply is because they focus a lot on anatomy and portraiture as a whole, which is one of my favorite things to do as an artist, and I would love to just push myself to another level within that. He really has helped me in curating what I want to create for my portfolio for this program. He's been very instrumental in my journey to complete this process. So now I'm in the ceramics lab, which is in Christ Hall, and I'm doing some studio time. So while I chose the 2D track, I did want to explore 3D in some realm, and you do have the ability to curate your classes, which allowed me to take ceramics, and when I explored that, I found it really relaxing and motivating into pushing myself into other art forms that I had never considered. So tonight is the faculty exhibition at the Nutting Gallery, and I'm gonna go check it out. So one of my favorite things about the professors in this program is just how talented they are. Seeing their work in exhibitions like the annual faculty exhibition is just very inspiring. And they are also extremely committed to helping you reach your goals and assisting you in class, as well as your own personal work. A couple of times I've brought my own work into professors and they've assisted me on how to move forward. Thank you for checking out the program with me. For more information, go to our website.
My name is Odessa Juarez. I am a fifth-year senior here at West Liberty University. I am a theater major with a costuming minor. My most recent show would have been Peter and the Starcatcher, where I played Smee, and recently we took that show to the KCACTF Theater Festival run by the Kennedy Center out in Washington, D.C. To Westchester University in Philadelphia. It is an honor to be invited to go because only a certain number of shows get invited to perform at the KCACTF Festival. It's an undescribable experience, an opportunity for somebody going into the world of theater. And Kennedy Center really drives home the thought of there is more to theater than just standing on stage and saying a couple words at a few people.
Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the. Wake up, get out the sheets. We came for war, man, forget my peace. You take the west, I'll take on the east. I'ma put them in the cage, never let out the. Yeah, I hear him chat in the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Man so tough, but mans keep walking, yeah. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls, let her tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch me, please use caution. Stop that. Stop that.
Hi everyone, my name is Kelsey Kyle and I'm the head acrobatics and tumbling coach here at West Liberty University. I'm so excited to share with you all that we have been selected to host the 2023 Acrobatics and Tumbling National Championship right here in the ASRC. The tournament will be April 27th through the 29th. For more information, check out hilltoppersports.com or West Liberty Athletics on all social media. Go Toppers!